Greetings. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX 777. So, good morning, good morning. Okay, so essentially, I've been up all night working with my tarot cards and my Qabala studies. Now, I haven't been doing a typical tarot reading, right, like most people do. I've been trying to memorize the cards in the relation to the tree of life. Okay, trying to relate how each card lines up with the Kabbalah and the spheres and the paths. And I just got a new tarot deck for my birthday, which is, of course, the Unicorn Tarot deck. And I thought, what better way to really crack those open and get used to them? Good morning, good morning. What's up, Bunny Queen? Rebel Star Seed, peace, peace. So yeah, I decided that this would be as good a time as any to do some deeper reflections on these cards and what they mean. So of course, if you've paid attention to my last video, I related the major arcana to the paths, also to the zodiac signs, also to the elements. And also I lined up the different cards with the different trees, the four trees. Well, I've been, I guess, a good way to say it is a little bit burned out by the books. So I took a little bit of a break from merely studying and decided to use a little bit more of my abstract mind and take a look at these cards and study just from observation and connection with each one of these, right? And in doing so, I really found out some really interesting connections, some very interesting correspondences and lineups here. And I guess I'll share one of them with you. I've been taking notes all morning and I uploaded them and I put them in a Google Drive notebook. So if you're part of the YouTube membership, I've got the link that I've already posted. You should be able to easily find that also on the Magus Society website. But essentially, after memorizing the major arcana, my next step was to memorize the order of the paths. But before we get to that, just wanted to take a look real quick at these different trees. Okay. Good morning, good morning. What's up, Apollo Soul? Good to see you. Gemma Thorne, good morning. Reina Leona, hello, hello. I'm gonna flip this camera around. All right, so just taking a look at the four trees, just based off of the artwork, I started to make a few observations here that I thought were pretty interesting. Now, as we know, the four different trees line up with the four elements and also the four stages of manifestation. The absolute tree being the highest tree, the closest to the divine, also represented by the wands. So what I have here are the 14 cards lined up in order according to the tree of life. And what you see on the left side are the queen and the page, on the right side the king and the knight, representing the masculine polarity and the feminine polarity. Right after that will be the tree of Bria, which is represented by the cups. Then we've got Yetzirah, which is represented by the swords. And of course, we've got the world of Asaya, which is the material plane, represented by the pentacles. So after lining all these up, I just started looking at the pictures. And I love this Unicorn Tarot deck because it has unicorns all over it. But aside from that, the artwork is actually very true to the essence of the cards. It's not just a copy and paste of the Rider White deck. She's actually added a few helpful things as well. If you notice on these cards, there's also stones, right? And all of the pentacle cards have this dark stone. I didn't look up exactly which one it is, but each suit has a different stone. And she further goes into the major arcana and lines up the different stones with each card. For example, the Empress, which we know represents Venus, has the emerald there. And yeah, each one of them have a stone to go with it. I thought that was pretty damn cool. I'm going to look up later on what each stone belongs to each major arcana and make my notes there. As you see here, the Emperor, which is represented by Aries, has a ruby there, you know, and the list goes on. But just laying out these cards here and looking at the story, I come to notice that if you look at the swords, they're all, for the most part, dealing with different energies of strife and struggle, you know? Take a look at the 10 and the 9, you know, the 8. These are seemingly unpleasant feelings here. As a matter of fact, the only two cards that really show anything of a positive energy would be the 4 and the 6. And we know that the 4 of Swords represents a peace or a rest from the strife and the struggle, meditation basically. And 6 is energy of a balancing, right? Of an earned victory, if you will. What I've noticed about the Pentacle cards in the world of Asaya is that they all have to do with construction of some type, of building of some type. We see here that they're holding up plans, right? And he's got a hammer for building, right? Especially like the 8 or the 7. Balance, building, structure. So it looks like the world of Asaya has a lot to do with the finished product. And as we know from previous study, the tetragrammaton, Yod, He, Vav, He, is the formula and the process of which manifestation happens. So beginning in Atziluth, we've got the idea. We begin to give it a little bit more form, and as it gets more structured, finally it manifests. So looking at these pentacles, I see that it has a lot to do with structure, formation, completion. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And of course, the world of Yetzirah deals with the astral realm. And we know that the astral realm is the world of emotion, emotion given form. So everything that happens in the astral realm is a result of unresolved and resolved emotional energy. So I think that would really relate to why a lot of these swords have to do with what seems to be pain and struggle, right? Look at the 3 of hearts. Excuse me, the 3 of swords. The stormy skies. You know, we know that the sword represents the element of air. So we've got a lot of turbulence in the sky. That's the word I was looking for, turbulence. We've got stormy clouds here, right? Turbulence. When we go to the world of Bria, the card, the Suit of Cups, has a lot to do with emotions, right? A lot of different emotional activities. We've got love over here. We've got pleasure, fulfilled. We've even got pleasure abandoned. We've got joy. We've got the family life. We've got the satisfaction of joy, the completion of joy. Pretty interesting that all the cup cards deal with those feelings of the heart and the emotions. Then, of course, the Tree of Atziluth, the wands, we see that a lot of these cards deal with conquest, I would say. Something to do with the emotion or the give and take of warfare, right? The conquering, the setting forth to gain or the lose, the battle, the fight. These top 2 cards really remind me and symbolize the planning and the strategizing that goes on before a battle. And truly, this is the only card that deals with the battle itself. But here we've got the victory. You know, here we've got the peace. And we know the 4 represents Chesed. The 4 represents the crowned king on his throne. So this is like the battle is in the past, the battle is won. This is where the battle is taking place. This is Gibara. This is Mars, right? Here we've got Netzach, Venus, and the energy of Venus as manifested in the world of Atziluth. It reminds me of a lot of the first-person shooters. You know, when you're fighting another opponent, you want to have the higher ground, right? Because it's more difficult for someone to shoot upwards at you. If you've got the higher ground, you can kind of see the stage. You can decide when and who to attack first. We see that this unicorn has the higher ground, and all these below are trying to get at him. Although he's under fire, he's actually in a very stable position and has the advantage. This card represents oppression. But anyways, I'm finding that the wands, the world of Atziluth, almost seems like it's a world of battle and strategizing and warfare. The world of Bria almost seems like it's a world of relationships and love. The world of Yetzirah almost seems like it's a world of turbulence and somewhat chaos. Then, of course, the world of Asaya to me seems like the completion, the finalization, the structure. So, in reading a little bit more of the mystical Kabbalah, I come to find that these four worlds have the same structure, right? The 10 spheres, but they manifest on these four different worlds a little bit differently. In some worlds, an energy might manifest in a strength position. In other worlds, it may manifest in a weakness position. I'll give you an example. Let's take a look at these notes here. So, looking at Atziluth, we'll go with Netzach. All right, so looking at the Seven of Wands in these four worlds, we know that Netzach, or Venus, represents love. It represents, the beauty of nature and that type of thing. So we deal with the Seven of Pentacles here in the lowest world, the one closest to us. In Asaya, the Seven of Pentacles deals with success, unfulfilled. So as we can see, the unicorn has manifested his abundance, his garden, but it's unfulfilling. It's not exactly, it doesn't hit the spot, basically. You can really get that from the Rider White card. We see the guy leaning on his hoe, his shovel there, and he's just not pleased, even though he's got all of his fruits and his crops. On the physical plane, this is the energy of Venus. It's unfulfilling. It may be temporary satisfying, but it's not ultimately satisfying. So if you look at how Venus manifests in the world of Yetzirah, in the astral plane, we see that the key word for the Seven of Swords is unstable effort. All right? Unstable effort. And what that means is that when you're dealing with love and emotion and passion on the astral plane, although you may have the energy to move forward, it's unstable. It doesn't last, right? So anything done under the influence of love on the astral plane, it's temporary. It isn't enough effort to sustain itself to completion. It's a burst of energy, right? Just like being horny, right? You might go and find your opposite sex and do the thing, but it's over quickly, right? In relation to the relationship as a whole. So the world of Yetzirah expresses the energy of Venus as unstable effort. It's not stable enough to build a foundation on. When we move up to the world of Bria and we take a look at the energy of Venus, the Seven of Cups card, we see that what it really gives us is what's called illusionary success, right? Success that might seem like we're going somewhere, but in reality, it's illusionary. All these options. This makes me think of someone who has so many different options to go in a certain direction, but they're so overwhelmed with their choices, they actually don't choose anything. That's all the way the energy of the Seven of Cups, which also kind of reflects what's going on with the Seven of Pentacles. But what we see here, like I mentioned about the Seven of Wands before, how the unicorn has the upper hand, what we find is that the energy of Venus only really comes into her own in the world of Atziluth, the world of spirit, the realm of fire. And what we find is that the key word for the Seven of Wands is valor, right? This is somebody who is triumphant in battle. When love is coming from the plane of spirit, it's then and only then that it can be stable enough to build victory upon. So when the energy of Venus expresses itself in any of these other three worlds, though it may have some potency, it isn't potent enough to replicate itself. It isn't potent enough to build something strong upon. Only when it's coming from the spiritual realm. So I thought that was pretty interesting, an interesting way of looking at how these cards interact. We know that there are 10 spheres of the Tree of Life, and each one of them expresses a certain type of energy, but it really depends on which plane the energy is expressed upon. Very cool. So yeah, after looking at all that, I just really wanted to go into some study of the progression of these energies from here to here to here to here to here, and all the way down the paths. Another really interesting thing that I find is the information on these paths here, right? And how each one of them represent the equilibrium of the spheres that they connect. What I'd really recommend you do, if you're part of the membership, is to go ahead and download the notes that I made and then make your own notes. If you're not part of the membership, you can easily find this information in the mystical Qabala. Each one of the spheres has a breakdown on what the energy of the tarot cards represent. And if you have the physical copy, in the back of the book, she talks about what each of the paths represent. So you can easily make your own. But either way you go, I suggest writing your own and analyzing and taking a look at the similarities, the relationships, and the correspondences between each one of these spheres and paths. It begins to tell its own story, if you have the ears to hear, of course. But yeah, this is a really cool deck. If you're on the lookout for another deck besides the one you commonly use, I can actually vouch for this one as being pretty true to the symbolism. Peace, peace. What's good, Straight Panther 79? What's up, Mad Titan? Yeah, this is a really cool deck. Very happy to have it. But yeah, like I said, check out those notes I made or make your own. Everything is definitely in the Mystical Qabala book. And yeah, this is my progress so far. I'm definitely getting deeper into the relationships of the paths. I find that it's not that hard to memorize if you just figure out the different relationships between each one of the cards. For example, you can start to memorize the number of the paths. You know, of course, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then it goes 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Basically, what I'm seeing is that each one of the spheres on this side has 3 paths, and the ones on this side has 3 paths, and the ones on this side have 2 paths. But you can go to google.com and type in paths of the Tree of Life, paths of the Qabala, and see how they line up and start to memorize them for yourself. But yeah, this was just a short video talking about some of the things that I found looking at these cards. Like that. Yes, yes, y'all. So much to learn, so much. But, you know, as long as you start somewhere, you can move from that point. But yeah, does anybody have any questions about anything that I can possibly help them with, or any comments or anything like that? I left the link to this unicorn tarot in the bio, which you can find. Like it says in the bio, I'm not affiliated with Pamela Chin or anything like that. I just think it's a cool deck. Yes, I like it very much. Thank you for this gift, Money Queen. I appreciate that. But yeah, if nobody has any questions or comments or anything, I'm going to get back to my studying. I got to memorize these paths. Good morning, Ashley Eccles. How you doing? What's up, Brown Nature 9? I just got Mystical Qabala. Awesome. 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 Unbox time. Good morning, Mike. How you doing? Bro Nature 9, did you say you have a question, or you just wanted to state that you got the mystical Qabala? Ooh, better not show that one. Good shit, good shit. All right, so yeah, if nobody has anything else to say, then I'm gonna go back to what I was doing. Brown Nature 9 says I got a question. All right, what's up? What's up? Good evening, good evening. Brown Nature 9, you said you got a question or nah? Which tarot should I buy now? Well, if you do not have a deck, then I would recommend that you buy the Rider White Tarot deck. That'll be probably the best one for you to start with, honestly. You cannot go wrong with the Rider White deck. Another one that might be pretty decent to get is the Hermetic Tarot deck. But yeah, most definitely. I would get that one. I'd learn it, memorize it, and then from there on, probably branch out to whatever else you think suits your fancy. But yeah, all right. I think I'm going to peace out now and get back to my Twizzlers and study and this mystery book. All right. So this is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. Love you guys. Peace.